Hey, what's up guys? I'm just doing a little recording here of Google Earth of a particular area near me. This is all state forested land here, up through here and all that. I actually do some deer hunting in here and things like that. Now a lot of these roads are, access roads and stuff like that. If there is like a main road, and some people do own land and live along this area and so on and so forth, but what I'm trying to show is some relative things to Sasquatch. What I try to tell people is everybody believes that, well, hunters have covered every little piece, nook and cranny of terrain there is for hunting. Well, what I like to say is that's just not true. And why do I say that? Well, in my region we get quite a bit of snow. So let's say there's 2 or 3 foot of snow on the ground, and we're gonna hunt right here. Let's say we're gonna park on this road and we're gonna walk into the woods, whatever way we're gonna go hunt here. 90%, maybe 95% of guys or hunters, females even, only walk maybe 300 to 400 yards from their vehicle. So, if we're here, I didn't measure exactly, but let's just say here, right? Keep that little curve right there in your mind, just that little spot right there, because I'm going to zoom out. So one little guy's hunting here, and there's thousands of acres that are huntable. All this is all like the state land area up through here. Half the time, guys, I try to tell people humans are lazy in general. Even myself. You get tired, you just say, hey, I'm going to pick a close spot relative to where you want to go. You don't want to be trudging through 3 feet of snow and so on and so forth. Even these areas, you see the striations in the pine trees right here, guys. What that is that was logged, I think I'm going to say about 40 years ago. They logged these areas, and that's why you see the clear gaps through. What they did is they took out like every other row of trees to help habitat and so on and so forth, and create some underbrush and things like that. So it gets very thick, where over here you don't see that because they didn't log. So these dark areas, which this area right here is very dark during hunting season, during all times of the year, usually an hour before the sun goes down, it's already dark in here. These are the types of places that Sasquatches are going to go. On my other maps you can see this right here. This is a couple of valleys that come together. This is a huge ridge that comes out on Mill Creek. And up here there's actually, like, you see this big circle, there's like 2 or 3 that actually come together, and then there's another creek that protrudes out this direction. So the reason I'm showing this area is a few years back I was driving down this road during bow season. It was around, I don't know, 7:30. I had actually done some hunting up, and I was trying to move the screen. I actually had done some bow hunting like over in here, because this is like a big swampy area, and sometimes the deer will come out of this big tract here where they're bedding, because there's a little bit of a ridge down through here, and they'll come up and they'll cross this road in their travels, and they head out down across this road, because this is downhill here, where you can see these big ravines and so on and so forth. But they'll come out to these fields to eat and graze. So let's zoom back in. So anyway, I was parked right here in this little gravel area right there. Anyway, I proceeded home, so I'm driving, and I got to about right in this vicinity here, and from the direction I'm driving this way, and out of my left ear I'm gonna say like down here, like right here, It was the loudest god-awful scream that I had ever heard ever in my life. To me, I mean, 7:30 at night during bow season. I mean, it was between 2013 and 2014 between my sightings. I had like 3 or 4 people with me, and the scream that came out of this area, people actually talk about. It's something like, it would sound like a woman was being murdered. Do you understand that? Like that. The scream was so intense, and it happened 3 times. It was so loud that I actually stopped my vehicle. So that kind of gave me an inclination that they were coming into this area from other areas. On another occasion, I actually hunted down here, which this happens to be what's called Lewis Road. This is an old gas well area right here, and I parked my vehicle here, and right here I ended up getting a doe, a nice doe, out of this woods here. Actually, I had a stand set up like right about here, not even far. I was probably 200 yards off the road, and what the deer used to do is come out of this valley up and out of here and go this way. So actually, when I shot the deer, it proceeded to run toward the road, and it died like around 15 feet from the road, so I didn't have to, you know, get it very far or anything like that. So I called a buddy. We proceeded to hang it up in the tree and hooked it to the truck, brought it up, gutted it, and my buddy's like, all right, I gotta take off. So he leaves, and while I'm here, I'm just trying to get everything tidied up. So what I did is, the deer's still in a tree, I take the rope through my SUV that I had at the time, and I hold it off the ball hitch, and as I back up, I lower the deer into the back of the SUV, kind of like on an angle. I had to swing the butt in. As I did that, I untied the deer, and right then, from down in this area, I don't know what it was or how fast it was moving, but I heard a, like, almost like a grunt, and then this bipedal heavy walking, and my gut turned immediately, and I had slammed the tailgate on the SUV, on the Explorer actually, and I could hear something coming, and it had to be like right here. I mean, it was super close, within 100 yards of me probably, and I could hear it coming and trucking through the woods, and it was like intent on coming after me, so much that I had to run to the other side. Not run, but I moved pretty quick, got into the vehicle, locked all the doors, slammed it in drive, and I proceeded to take off this way, which the direction to my house is that way. So I had to take this route, the long route, but I never did figure out what that was. I mean, could it have been a bear? Possibly, but bear don't sound bipedal, guys. This was a clear boom, 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 and it got louder and progressively louder. It was quite amazing to actually go through something like that and actually show the area that it happened in, and stuff like that. And after already seeing a juvenile, which was amazing, I had no inclination. I knew what I saw was real, but I was still in that phase of, let's just keep it quiet. So things started happening, like this, the scream, and the other situation that happened here. Now, this isn't necessarily where I look for Sasquatch at, but it is one of the locations. I actually do some hunting down here on some private land. But you can see Western New York has a lot of valleys and ridges, and it's a lot of rolling hills and so on and so forth. Let's see, I was just going to do some rolling here, but I think I'm going to change my mind on that. So let me see, right about here. This is all private land right here, this whole triangle section that like a family member owns, that we do some hunting on with nice ridge and stuff like that. Right in here, you can actually see a cabin right there. It's the cabin and the barn. But right in here, we actually, the first year, I don't know, was like maybe 2014 when we started accessing this. Maybe it was 13. Yeah, this is our 3rd year there. So right in here, there was some small structures in these pines, and then right out here in this open area, I'm wondering if you can even see it on camera. There's like some piles of stuff, like rock piles and weird things going on. But there was a nice tree structure that I actually took a photo of and I shared a really long time ago. And a couple of my buddies who actually hunt that area, who walk up through this area toward the gas well, say that there's multiple structures back in here, which we're actually going to have to check out this year. But what I was trying to show is certain things. You start heading this way, guys, you're going to head more toward Pennsylvania. Here, I'll just bring it way out. Give you a retrospect where we're at. Here's Pennsylvania. See? So it's like they head this direction, because here's a lake. This is Chautauqua Lake from Mayville to Jamestown. A Sasquatch has to go 2 ways, guys. They're not going to go across a huge lake. They're either going to come through this area, which is more highly populated, let's say, not too bad, but it is highly populated, or they're going to head off this way, guys, you know, out through where it's thick, down through the Bradford, PA area, down through you know, the mountains, because like right in here is kind of where the foothills stop and you get all the rolling effect. That's why we got a lot of rolling effect going on, the rolling hills and so on and so forth. It's from the mountains. Where are we? Okay, let's go back over here. Alright, so what I want to show in retrospect is all that state land, and then there's just all this state land and all this state land. It's quite a bit. It's like over 12,000 acres. So what we were doing one day is, you know, doing our thing, metal detecting. I'm actually going to show what had happened. We had parked right here on this dead-end road, and we proceeded up the trail to right about in here. There used to be some old home structures in here where people lived in the 1800s. And there's actually like 1, 2, 3, and then 1 and 2 back in here. So if you go and check out Bigfoot Eyewitness episode 10, I explain kind of what happens. But in episode 27 also, more recently, as of a few weeks ago, but that was for a new encounter that I'll share after this. And so what we were doing is we were detecting. This is a nice trail that they use for snowmobiles, so we're doing some detecting in here and, you know, all over the place. Few hours, and we took a break under this tree right here. And I told my buddy, I said, hey, I said, I got that weird feeling like we're being watched. And he's like, no, I don't. I'm good. You know, I don't. I was like, okay, well, right then, 2 people had walked through here. One with a orange, yellow, pink color coats on. They were hiking. They were hiking to the other end. We waved, and it was no big deal. They proceeded on. We actually smoked a cigarette, and we headed back out. So we started working up, and he came out, and he worked up. So we're like right in this range now. And then he proceeded to go in the woods, and so did I. So we're detecting in like these big little loop areas here. I don't know, must have been another 2 hours, because it was close to 6:30. And I'm guessing we took this break around 4, so it was at least 6:30 where I start to come out of the woods. I'm like, I'm beat. I can't do any more detecting. And he had already been on his loop and is heading back out of the woods. And he's actually near the trail, closer than I am, as I'm coming across this. A little bit too much. As I'm coming across here, and he comes out, and I'm I don't know, like right in here, and he's just about on the trail looking up, and he sees something, and my buddy's like, hey, there's something or someone or in the trail. So I pull off my headphone and I proceed to look up this way. As he walks over to me, and now we're standing side to side up in this area, right about in here, this is a little field clearing. Right about in here, this, what I know now, is a giant Sasquatch. Huge Sasquatch standing right here. I'll even zoom into that area. I don't know if he had come out of these woods. I don't know if he crossed from this side. I don't know. All I know is he was crouched in this area, like, I'm gonna put this square like right here. He was crouched like right out here near this area, and you know, so we're down in here, I think, if I'm correct. Yeah, right about in here, watching it. You see how this is a clear path? There's no trees there. There's no nothing. You can see what you're looking at. I mean, it's about 200 yards, roughly 150 to 200 from us. And we're standing shoulder to shoulder here. It was gigantic. You could see the brow ridge. You could see like the conical head, and it was just so massive and muscular that I don't know how to explain it, but it was in a crouched position, and when it noticed us two standing shoulder to shoulder watching him, he stands up, you know, erect, fully straight up, and that's when we were able to see how big this thing really was. It went on for like a good 30 or 40 seconds. He was staring at us, we were staring at him. We kind of got the gist of, you know, why are you standing here? Why are you in my area? You're in my way, is what he had a look on his face, I should say. So much detail from this Sasquatch, it was amazing. And as he proceeds to walk off, he turns with his right leg. His right leg steps out, and he steps this direction. As he goes this direction, these are like a row of pine trees. His head hits one of these pine trees, and a branch proceeds to shake. As that happens, I over here make a mental note of it. By making a mental note, I was like, you know what, I can get a measurement on how tall that thing actually was. We were quite scared that day, because you could hear it come down through here crashing, and we didn't know if it was going to try to flank us or whatever. I just didn't know, so we backed out of there for that day. Headed back up there the next day. There was actually a little bit of snow because it was in May, and this is a higher elevation. It's just one of those things that happen in New York. You know, I think the day before was maybe like 60, maybe. So we came up here. We couldn't really find any tracks that day, but a couple days later we did, right in here, and they came across going back into this area. So we figured out that they were crossing back and forth here, but then we would always lose them, like right in here. We would lose their trail. We couldn't figure out which direction they would go from here. But anyway, we came back up here and measured, and that's where we measured from the branch to the ground, and it was roughly 9.8 feet. So guys, that was a giant Sasquatch. It was amazing. So what I've noticed is, I've got a map, and I didn't really want to share it, but over, let me see, this whole location, like all this, we've had encounters up in here. We've had some things happen all over here. We've heard some audio in here. We've had a kettle taken from here. There's tree breaks here. So I'm trying to put this map together with all these things going on all over this area, and what I'm trying to do is show their pattern. If I can pattern them or figure out where they're coming through, or so on and so forth, like a deer, I might be able to, you know, be ready for them to you know, to get better photos, to get better video. I gotta try to compare it to a deer as to where, you know, we hunt deer. And if we can pinpoint where that exact location is, what happens? We end up getting a nice buck, or, you know, something like that. That's why we put in all the hard work for looking for the deer, for the buck. Anyway, I'm trying to pinpoint all these different things and why they're referencing this. This is like a hill. This is like a high point up here. And this goes down, and this goes down, and this goes down, and then like right about here, this goes down to here and here. So all through here, it's the hilly and valley, but this is like the high point on it. I do have the topographical map, but I'm not going to share that. You can go to My Topo Maps or Free Topo Maps and get your own thing and check it out. You know, I use Onyx Hunt Maps. I use another thing called My Tracker when I'm in the woods that stays on my hip, and it tracks every step, everywhere you go. Which is very nice, because let's say you're here and you're walking in the woods and you're like, well, how do I get back out? You know, you can virtually follow the line right back to your vehicle, kind of wherever you go, or where you started, I should say. So a lot of times what we do is we have some electric scooters, because you can access it from here and you can access it from here. So what we do is, instead of walking, I mean, I could measure this. I think this is close to 2.5 miles, this whole thing here. So instead of walking, you know, 1.5 miles and then 1.5 miles and then branch off into the woods wherever we want to go, we take, if we park whatever side, we take our electric scooters. They're quiet, you know, they're eco-friendly, all that. You can scoot right out there up the hills. Get there, park them. I mean, you're there within a couple of minutes, you know, 3 minutes, 4 minutes maybe. Park the little scooters, then you venture off down into the woods. You know, that's how you do that. You're saving a lot of your energy, because if you, let's face it, if you got to walk this 1.5 miles and then you go walk another mile, I mean, by the time you're here, 2 miles, you're tired. Let's face it, you're not walking on the cement, guys. You're walking over terrain. So 2 miles into the terrain gets you pretty exhausted, and then you're like, forget it, you know, I'm tired, let's go. And then you got to walk all the way back out. So you're 4 miles in to your trip, and it's kind of like, you know, so that's why we came up with the scooter idea. And it works really, really well for this area. Some of the recent activity has been below this line, below this trail. A lot of the recent activity. But here's the thing that we've noticed, with hunters, you know, come in and they immediately break off this way, and they don't even touch like down in here, guys. Like, hunters very rarely, and if they do, it's just one time, or, you know, trails stop and they don't keep going. A lot of hunters don't even go off trail, guys. It's crazy. Like, the deer are just going to be on the trails that we're on. So anyway, you know, there's some good fields in here. There's fields here. This one's actually hidden. It's back here, and there you can see right there, there's some woods. There's like a tractorway, and that gets planted with corn. This all will get planted with corn. This will be corn. All this will be corn. They switched these over. These are now like that ryegrass, or the wheat. That's what they're growing there. So I mean, if Sasquatch eats those types of things, they virtually have to go nowhere, because these fields right here are abundant. They're full of crops. And this back here is black pond. We call this black swamps. This is where you step and you'll fall through the ground. But could they live back here? Yes. Why? Because who goes into the swamps, guys? That 10% maybe. So if they're accessing, you know, they stay up on the hill, and the reason they stay up in this area is it's a vantage point. The ones you guys actually seen on video, you ain't gonna believe this. The ones you guys actually seen on video as of recent, I was parked right here, and they were right here. No, this is a trail. There's a creek. It's a ravine and a trail. And this, like I said, this is your trail right here. See, it ends up ultimately connecting to the main trail, but it comes down through here. You got to come off a backside. You go past the gas well. It's quite a distance. So what I did is I parked here, and what I had noticed is, let me back that back out. I'm sorry. This huge creek ravine, and you know, this is, nobody is really getting back into this depth here. So I noticed there was some things back here that gave me some interest. So what I did is this set of pines is it's kind of thick. They're lower to the ground. They're not really tall, which provides darkness and good cover. So right here, as this corner bends, where I try to tell people, it's like a wall. It's all sagebrush, you know, thorns and thicket to about right here, like this whole area. And you can't get up and access this location from here. So you either got to walk way over here and come backwards, or you have to get here and walk directly up the hill to it, or come from this trail. And 9 out of 10 guys, like I said, when they come hunting or when they're in the woods, what do they use? They use a trail. They're not coming in, oh, it's just going to go right down through here. So this is a really good area where I have found some good evidence. I don't care. I share my evidence. I share my locations. I'm not really worried about it. 9 out of 10 people won't go there and check it out anyway. It's no big deal to me, because if they do move off, I know where they're going to go. If somebody does spook them out of here, I already know the location they'll go to, which I won't give that up either. But and how do I know that? Because we did it, and we had to learn. But anyway, I had the trail cam was going to be set up like right about here. So what I did is I came up to about here, and I just started walking through the woods, and there's that structures in here, right about here, and I'm 200 yards off a trail, guys. And what I believe they do is they sit here, and they can watch people walk this trail, and nobody can even see them. It's like a strategic little point that many people have spoken about. We've been speaking about it for a year now. And when I set the camera down, I proceed to put my game cam up facing this direction, and this is where they were, and that's the area you see them flee to. They flee in this direction, and the one I had seen was already over on this side anyway, so it's like, you know, where are they going? They're heading back this way. Why? Because it's thick. You know, I understand that there's a lot of saplings, you know, you can see that, but there's a lot of thick areas that maps don't point out for you guys. Get on the ground and check it out, and you'll start seeing brush and stuff that you can't even get through. And if you think about it, they could sit all along here and watch anybody that walked a trail if they really wanted to. This is the area where the baby Bigfoot was caught, so we think. We were placing recorders right here next to this water source. We found out that they really didn't come to this area. This was more for animals. All animals came here except them. We found no footprints, nothing, no structures. There were no structures right here at all whatsoever. I have not explored down to this one yet because my main focus was over here. As you can see, there was some clear cutting done a while ago, about 6 years ago. But most hunters anyway will follow trails, go to gas wells, sit in the open areas. This strip here, this area here is my next venture to see what's what in this stand of pines. But you can only do so much in so much time. Anyway, my friend had come in. We left the recorder right about here. We call this the green spot. And what has happened is he got the recorders, come back out, and he got turned around, and he was videoing this wall of like pines and maple and stuff like that, and it was splayed right here in that tree as he headed back out to the trail here. And we believe that what they're doing is if that sits in the tree, if the baby sits in the tree, it can see this part of the trail probably, it can see this part, you know, it's all observation. Why do they observe? Survival. It's all about survival, guys. I mean, how can they live right under your nose here when hunters come in here and then they escape and then they're gone and they can head south, they can head to these core areas? I mean, over through here, this park road, it doesn't exist anymore. This was shut down by our park service, oh god, 30 years ago. And it stops right at the last driveway there. So this section is all no good. Snowmobilers will use that, but it's not a road. This creek is, you'll get some high cliffs with this creek. like I said, a lot of hunters don't get down into this stuff in here. Why? Because it's rugged, it's rough terrain. So what we were trying to figure out is, if they did come off this ridge here and they just headed across one little lonely road, they could, you know, get all down through here, guys. Okay, sorry, I slid the screen over. Next, what I want to talk about is this area right in here. That is a camp, and this side of the road is where we were. We parked right about here, and we walked down in, and there's like a creek here. This is actually, in this area right about here, is where we obtained some samples from also. This is another area that we got some screams from. One scream that was recorded here, now mind you, right here, is virtually, now it was recorded here, and it's virtually the same scream heard about here. So that distance is pretty far. Actually, I'm gonna wonder if I can measure that. Let me see, where is the ruler? Let's measure a path in yards from, let's say, okay, right about here, as the bird flies, as the crow flies. I've got 2,026 yards. So, I mean, if we change that into miles, 1.15 miles. So, at that distance, 1.15 miles, we caught screams within a different month, you know, a month's time frame from here over to here. So that shows you that they are moving. Now here's the funny part. This is the funny part that I wanted to share. We have the New York DEC, Department of Environmental Conservation. In the beginning, we wanted to do a lot of camping, like right here, along this. There's a trail, not so much a trail, it's an old logging setup. It's really thick. You can walk down along these pines, and we were going to walk up through here to one of these ridges, or just come across this to this ridge and camp, like, you know, right about in here. Because this is actually, this area right here where my box is where my kettle was stolen from. So as you can see, it's let's see, how far is it off the trail? 0.21 miles. It's almost a quarter mile off the trail. We're talking about 365 yards. And it's through some tangled stuff. You know, we had it hidden. The chances of a person finding it and being right there and up under some logs was slim to none. So that's why we wanted to do some camping back in here. Well, when we called the DEC, they stated that you are not allowed to camp on this side of the road. As I say this side, it's here, and then when I say this side, I mean over here. You're not allowed to camp anywhere over here at all. No camping. Over here, no camping. The only place you are allowed to camp is this green section right here. You see that? This little itty bitty, what is that? 800 yards. So little 800 by 300. So you get an 800 by 300 yard section, and what there is, whoop, let me close this back out here. There is a lean-to. Right here. You see that? And this is where they want everybody to camp. And, you know, I don't understand why we're not allowed to use our state forest, especially this wildlife area. We have to camp right here, nowhere else. Can't camp here, can't camp here, we can't camp here, we can't camp through none of here, none of this, nothing. It's almost like they know. It's kind of weird, isn't it? So you can camp here, but nowhere else, guys. You can't go anywhere. like they got it monitored. So then the next thing, we started looking and using Google Earth, and we found this, which we thought was highly odd, which looks like a pond, looks like an old house, possibly a generator or solar, but there's really no driveway in or driveway out. So we were wondering if that's possibly a government facility, because why have that there? And the thing is, that's state land. State land starts, you know, like right here. It cuts a line on this section and cuts down, and it's kind of odd. So we were going to actually do one of these times is when we come out here, walk down in through here and find out what this is, because it was kind of odd to us. Why have that up there? So, you know, we were wondering if maybe it was a monitoring station or something. What does this say? Sky? I was just going to see if I opened it up. Obviously somebody did some walking, and see how that happened. I would really like an interactive map like that where you could, you know, get Sasquatch sightings. I see the BFRO recently did something like that after I mentioned it. But anyway, so there's a lot of water, guys. There's always, you know, always keep in mind you'll need water nearby, even though apes and orangutans and everything else get most of their water from what they eat. You know, just remember, have water nearby, have a high ridge nearby, have a place where they can escape. They can escape to so many different directions. I mean, and see these trails, they like to sit back and observe. A couple hundred yards, they can sit back and observe anybody that walks. So it's just a really good area that we found. So what I basically wanted to tell you guys is, you know, pay attention to your surroundings. You know, I mean, you got a main highway here, you got a main highway here. This is sort of a main highway, not really, but you know, I mean, they can travel this whole area, guys. Really, you know, to get from these huge other tracks, crossing one road, coming up through, or wherever they got to come through. This is, sorry about that. This is what we got to find, guys. What we need to find is the area that they come across. This is more state land down through here also. If we can find that pinch point where they're coming across to access other tracts of land like this, that's your key areas. That's what we do with deer hunting. You find these key areas where they're going to cross, or where they've been crossing, or getting to, or so on and so forth. But it's hard because you got to check all of this, and you know, how are they getting from here down through here, or you know, wherever it is, across up to these other tracks right here. So just pay attention to your surroundings. You know, I've been a hunter over 22 years, guys. I never looked for tree structures. I never looked for anything in the woods like that until I had my sightings, and then I started paying attention to the sounds, the footprints, the structures, the so-ons, the so-forths. But when you try to cover all types of terrain like this, guys, it's just, you got to take it one section at a time. So you grid this and you cover this area, and then you'll do this and you grid that and cover that. You know, it might take you a whole month just to figure out this whole area right here. Seriously. You know, then you got to work on this side. So, you know, you might take a whole summer just to learn this section right here, and still not have everything. But what I'm trying to put together is, I hear screams here, I see structures here, so I'm trying to figure out how they're getting from here to here, right? And then if you take it from here, I'm trying to figure out how they're getting from there to this other area in here. If you could start to find that pattern, guys, if we can start to track them better, that's one way for success. What's that give us? More proof, more definitive everything. So stay positive. I just wanted to share some things. Later, guys.